Okay, this is going to be an attempt to do the automatic transmission fluid on a Scion FRS, aka Subaru BRZ, and Toyota 86 something. I don't know what they call them now. But it's my mother's car. It's automatic. I know most gearheads are going to want this in a manual, but not for a 75-year-old woman. So she's had it for about, I don't know, 6 years now maybe. And it's got 80,000, so it's 20,000 past, I believe, the recommendation. Got some case here, a Toyota ATFWS, which is the recommended fluid. Um, and there is quite a procedure here. There's a drain bolt on the transmission pan, like an inspection, like fill bolt, kind of higher up, and then there's like a midway drain bolt. So the procedure is kind of wonky. You're supposed to drain and refill this thing 3 times in order to get a change, because you can't really drain the torque converter. Apparently, if you could, you do damage to the engine or the transmission, I guess. So it's kind of like this drain, refill, drain, refill, drain, refill. But it's kind of not clear in the Subaru manual whether or not it's like a full drain the first time and then the next 2 aren't full drains, or the next 2 refills aren't full drains, because you refill it 3 times and it's supposed to be 2.1 quarts a time. I have a 6-pack case here, which is only going to get me 6 quarts, not the 6.3 I need. But from doing my Priuses, I still have like half a quart left over, which is thankfully the same fluid. So the car is up on ramps, as you can see in the front, and jacks in the back to get it level, because it's important to be level. You're supposed to have it warmed up to get an accurate final fill. I've read from some that it's not necessary to have it warmed up. It's like tablespoons of difference. I think getting this old fluid out is what's most critical at this point, and obviously overfilling it wouldn't be good. Underfilling it definitely would be bad. So we're going to try and get as close as we can. I'm going to measure what I pull out from, we'll call it the lowest drain and then the mid drain. I'm going to measure what I pull out from the mid drain, because that's the procedure for refilling. Is you put the low drain bolt back in and then you fill the car up until it starts to just trickle a stream out of the mid drain. Then you plug it, and then it sounds like you're supposed to put 2.1 quarts in after that, but that's where the Subaru manual is just not clear. The Scion or Toyota manual does say that that's what you're supposed to do. So 2.1 quarts after you get it up to the mid level, with the engine warm. And there's a whole procedure how you determine that the transmission's at the right temperature. There's like a 15-degree window of acceptable warmth. I forget what it was, like 106 to 121 or something like that. I don't remember. Those numbers could be off, but it says in the manual. And again, I've discovered through reading on one thread that I could find online, which has the attachment of the Subaru manual in this procedure. Somebody saying they've done this, and there's like the difference they found in the temperature fluctuation from bone stock cold to warmed up, ready to rice, it's like 3 to 4 tablespoons. So anyhow, I'm going to try to get some video of this procedure, since there's no video anywhere that I could find, and hopefully be helpful for somebody at some point. So may have to come in a couple parts. I'm pushing 45. I'm not tech savvy. So I might not be able to get all this in one video, but appreciate your time thus far, and sorry for the lengthy conversation. But if you're here for this, maybe you appreciate it. Piece back there, I'm probably going to have to take those guys off. Maybe I don't need to take the front of this off. I just need to take that guy off back there to get to the transmission. So I'll start with that. I'll take the 12 millimeters off on the back. Can actually probably put this guy back, and then the 112 I took out here. But take out those 612, actually 812s. There's 2 bundled up right next to each other, probably on like a frame rail or something. But and then that back plastic belly pan to get access to the transmission. Okay, here we go with the belly pan off. It was a series of, there was a couple 12s that are holding on the main aluminum belly pan, but mostly it was all 10s all the way around, 10 millimeters. And getting that piece off exposed all I need to get to here, which is my, I'm gonna call it my lower drain bolt, my secondary bolt, so that's gonna leave some fluid in the pan. And then right here, kind of hard to see, but there's the 25 millimeter on the driver's side. Now, I don't have a 25 millimeter socket, so I'm going to try and take a crescent wrench to it, but I may have, I don't know, I may have a 25. We'll see. But and it's pivotal, as you may know. Get this guy cracked loose first before you start draining anything. But what I'm going to do is take this, looks like a 5 millimeter, I think is what it is, a 5 millimeter hex. I'll take that out first once I know I can get the filler bolt off. And I'm just going to see how much comes out and measure that. And then I'll crack this guy loose to drain the final amount. Now, if you can see, both of these are recessed. And I'm pretty sure this is the first one I want to take off, and then this one. But I don't think it's going to allow me to drain everything out of it. Like, there should be one on the bottom of the pan. There's going to be a slight film that's left in here, even with that guy taken out. Sorry, I'm not doing the best camera work because I'm watching outside the camera, but it's kind of wonky. I'm not sure why they have 2 drain bolts here, and the process is kind of crazy, but see how it goes. Alright, so we got the refill plug out, 25 millimeter, or if, like me, you don't have one, you can use a 15/16. I actually used a 12-point socket, and I had no issues with 15/16. So, I mean, it's snug enough, and even with a 12-point. So this is going to be I think that's a 5 millimeter. I had to tap it up in there. Yeah, it's a 5. There's a little bolt was a little rusted. Florida car, still a little rusted, and I couldn't just freely go in there. I had to tap it in there. But get ready to let the fluid come out for the first time in this 2014, I think it is, or 13 or 14 Scion FRS. A little cold out here, but 80,000 plus miles. Here we go. Let's see how dark it looks. Oh yeah, that is some brownish fluid. Not quite the pretty cranberry red we'd like to see coming out of it, but car still shifts smooth. Again, it's my elderly mother who's driven the car for like the last 65,000 miles, and I took it on a cold trip around the block and no shifting issues. But I'm gonna try to measure the amount that comes out here. Now, I don't know how much more will come out when I hit that back bolt, but I'm certainly gonna try to get some more out. But again, the strange filling and draining procedure says you just drain from here. Now, I know there's still some fluid in there, and I think even getting that, I think there's like a little straw that's sitting up in there, so it's not allowing like maybe a quart or something to come out. But the instructions talk about if you somehow can't fill the specified amount, which is 2.1 quarts, in through that refill hole, then to start the car, put the plug on, start the car up, go through the gears a couple times, and then come and try again. That'll get the fluid to circulate, probably into the torque converter and slush box and such. So, but yeah, that's good to see that the fluid definitely needs to be done, and it's past due. But just a little insurance policy. Again, no issues with the transmission, but we don't want any, right? So that's why we're doing this. Okay, got the back bolt cracked loose. Gonna drain whatever remaining fluid is. And here it's a 14 millimeter. We'll see how much comes out now. Oh yeah, a little bit more. So yeah, that's probably that there's not a straw in there. So I got a measurement I'm going to take off of the front amount. and do back them out. But yeah, just some unclean transmission fluid. Okay, this video just demonstrates I made a measuring glass out of an old orange juice container. I took just my wife's measuring cup and added water to it, and then poured out 2-ounce increments into this, and there's notches all the way up and down it. I did like the first 8 or 16 ounces kind of very painstakingly. You can't see the 2 there, but there's one there, I guess you can see it. And then I just started to add, because it was an 8-ounce measuring glass, I just put all 8 ounces in, like the top tick, and then made quarter ticks, like a half tick and then quarter ticks, all the way up until about the 8-ounce mark, so 40 ounces there. But we can see I got just shy of 32 ounces. I got 30 ounces in the first pull, but I think more than that came out in the second drain. Okay, this is just what was left in it. So I dumped what was in here, the what was it, 30 ounces, and then what was left in the transmission I put in here, and this comes up to 46 ounces. So the 30 ounces and the 46 ounces, we got 76 ounces total. And I guess, I don't know, I'm not going to do the math in my head, I'm not able to, but 64 ounces would be 2 quarts, right? So what did I say? 70, 30, and 40, 76. We're over 2.1 quarts, I would imagine. But that's what a full drain is. And the car was moderately warm, but not real warm. This is probably about 60 degrees. So that's where we're at. All right, so we got a little over 2 quarts drained out, 2.375 quarts is what my math came up with. I got my fill spout open and ready. I got my Harbor Freight transfer, liquid fluid transfer pump, and I got 2 quarts. Now 2 quarts isn't going to quite fill it to where it was, but this is a 3-part process and I'm doing a flush, right? So I have 6.5 quarts. I think some people recommend you get 7 quarts because you need 2.1, 2.1, and 2.1. But really, I think for my measurement, I need 2.375. I'm probably done messing with the mid-level drain. I'm going to just be using the full drain. So I'll fill it with 2 quarts, start it up, run it through the gears, shut it off, drain it from the lowest level drain, the 14 millimeter. Fill it again with, it's going to be a little bit more than 2 quarts because I had to take my 1/2 quart jug and put it into the remaining 4 quarts that were new to empty it. I had about 1/2 quart that, like I said, it divvied up between the 4 jugs, and then I've got 2 jugs that I didn't have to put it in. I wanted to get the empty quart container to dump the first round, the 30 ounces into, so I could measure again what was remaining, and that's when I got the, I think we said like 46 ounces. So anyhow, gonna pump that stuff into here. Now the owner's manual or the service manual says if for some reason you find you're not able to pump the 2.1 quarts in here, it starts to dribble out, that just stop. Obviously you don't want to waste the fluid. Cap it off, go in the car and start it, run it through the gears, and that'll help it circulate up in the torque converter and whatnot, and allow you to resume putting in the 2.1 quarts. Now, one of the guys on the forum says just leave that fill plug open as you're checking to find out, you know, the proper temperature for filling, and go through the gears and everything with it open. I don't know about you, but I don't feel safe about that. I mean, I think could potentially be blowing out transmission fluid and such. So the service manual says to cap it back off before you go starting the car and running it. So I think that's the proper procedure. You don't want to be trying to take measurements and such. Now, It does tell you to drain from the mid drain until you get a slight trickle and then cap it off. I don't know, it's just very confusing, that method. So I'm kind of like improvising a little bit by taking the measurement from the factory on what was in there. And then when I do my final fill, I'm going to attempt to put back in the 76 ounces, as I think I came up with. All right, thanks for watching. And then obviously there's a problem down the road and I broke the transmission, I'll come back and update, but I think I'm doing right by this transmission. Okay, last video, I did a drain and refill, and then a drain. It's coming up again, and I'll do the last refill for 3 total. I'm going to torque down that guy and that guy. The service manual has conflicting numbers, conversions, at least the BRZ manual. So this guy here is like I think it's about a 27, and then these are almost 15 foot-pounds. And let me check on that for some. So this is like 28.76 foot-pounds on that big refill, and then like 14.75 foot-pounds on these guys. Interestingly, the oil drain bolt is like that one as far as torque spec, but one guy on a forum said he torqued one of these guys to the 28 or whatever, and it stripped it. So we'll stick with the 15 or the 14.75. I always like to go a little lighter, you know, start off at like 10 or 12 pounds, feel it click, just to feel how it's tightening up before I go right into it. But I'm using a 3/4 inch drive torque wrench, and I'll have to use this little converter adapter, which is not always advised, but this is a 3/8 drive. So this is a 3/8 to 1/2 inch, and I have to have a 1/2 inch up on that 25 millimeter, which I'm using again the 15/16 on. I do have a 1/2 inch torque wrench, but it's a big guy, and fitting it under this tight space isn't going to be good. And so that thing's got a rubber O-ring on it. There's no fluid at that level, although when I am pumping it in, it does on occasion splash out a little bit. But yeah, these guys down here are what have crush washers you're supposed to replace, and I'm not going to do it this time around, but maybe next time.